Thank you so much, Alex Morse, for your time today.
No, I'm excited to be here.
Welcome to Provincetown.
Like I said, I've gotten so many texts this morning. Good luck on your interview with Wake Up, which makes me think like how hard-hitting this interview is going to be.
People know. People know what serious journalists we are.
I got people back home watching too.
Cute.
So,
Yeah. Hi, Holyoke.
Yeah. Western Mass. Hello.
So when did you first start coming to Ptown?
Well, I remember Ptown to some extent when I was a kid. You know, we would like do a week in Cape Cod somewhere and then do a day trip to Provincetown. And you know, from a young age that it's a little different, eclectic, something unique about it. And then probably the last 10 years I've been coming annually over the summer a couple times with friends. And for me, like being mayor of Holyoke for nearly 10 years, Provincetown was a place I came to relax and connect with friends. And so I'm just thrilled to be here.
You'd ruin
I know,
that.
now I'm going to be vacationing in Western Mass. But I'm super thrilled to be here.
We're very excited to have you as well.
Great.
How'd the first week on the job go?
It's good. Everybody at Town Hall was happy I showed up the second day, which I think was a good sign. And everyone at Town Hall has been wonderful, super warm and welcoming. And it's great to be in a place that's excited to have me as I am to be here. And you know, Provincetown, and I said throughout the process, like, what better place to continue my love of local government and public service than in a place that I love and as unique and special as this community.
Yeah. What kind of made you want to make the jump from being the mayor of Holyoke to the town manager of Provincetown?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. You know, I had my campaign last year, ended in September, and then I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. And so it was a really restorative several months for me. You know, I got my dog Oliver, which we can talk about. Yeah. Sorry I didn't bring him this morning. And then in December I announced I didn't want to run for mayor again. It had been, you know, 4 terms, nearly 10 years, and I always said that I thought that was a long enough period of time to be in one position. And then this opportunity presented itself, and it was really the perfect opportunity at the right time, and to transition into a position where I can just do the work with good people in a great community without having to constantly run for office and distract yourself from the really significant challenges ahead. So.
We're back. And we're back. No, I was just going to say, it's nice to know that you're locked in, because I think the last couple were like probationary, and then that got extended, and I think it made it hard for that person to really kind of even start the job.
Well, yeah, I mean, so there is in the contract, there is a 6-month probation, but I think the select board has confidence and I have confidence. We're going to work well together. It's been great getting to know them and watching them. And it's also a different relationship than what I'm used to. So in Holyoke, I worked with a 15-member city council at one time, and then a 13-member. And oftentimes, like, the system's designed to have like inherent tension. And I think here we all have an incentive to work together and, you know, advance the goals that we share. And so last Monday night, they unanimously approved a set of 6-month goals. You know, everything from housing to moving the police station project forward, helping them develop a 2 to 3 year strategic and vision plan. And so I think the system here is designed so that we have a little bit more collaboration and teamwork. And again, the team at Town Hall has been just wonderful. And in the midst of a lot of transition over the last several years, it's really been the team at Town Hall that has consistently, you know, performed and made sure that the goals of the town continue to move forward. So.
I know a lot of our viewers who were submitting questions to us, we were like, hey, everybody, what do you want us to ask him? I think a lot of people are confused about what exactly the power dynamic is between you and the select board.
Yeah.
So my understanding, my very limited, basic understanding is that, are they like your boss, or are you their boss?
So they hire me.
So
I'm accountable to the select board, you know, per the contract. And so all 5 are elected. And they have the authority and power to hire the town manager. It's one of the biggest responsibilities that they have. Yet they hire the town manager to be the chief executive officer of the town, of Town Hall. And so, coming from the perspective of a mayor, I don't feel like I'm just a town manager of Town Hall, right? I think my job is to convene and to be accountable, not just to the select board, but to the employees of Town Hall, to residents of Provincetown to different stakeholders, the business community, year-round residents, tourists. I mean, it's a small town, but in many ways it's a big city in the summer with a lot of different issues. And you obviously, manage the day-to-day operations of the town, but you also have to have a long-term vision. Like, what are the challenges facing Provincetown, and how do we embark on a long-term vision to make sure we keep Provincetown? People that have called Provincetown their home for generations can continue to afford to live here. How do we diversify the economic base, invest in capital projects that are important to the town, and just, the conversation about the select board and previous managers. And I think the town does need stability, and I want to provide that. And I was very clear in my interview process that this isn't a short-term opportunity for me. I think the town really needs stable leadership and partners in the years to come, and I'm committed to doing that.
I think a lot of the problems not problems, but a lot of the issues that we're all facing in this town, the pandemic really exacerbated. What I imagined Provincetown would have been in 5 to 10 years, it kind of all happens in a year.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest issues that we're all kind of confronted with right now, it being April, moving into our busy season, is housing. There was a post on Community Space yesterday about housing that received 400 comments and a lot of opinions. Do you also see housing as the kind of the biggest problem, or where does that fall in your...
Housing, even when you look at plans and challenges, 20 years ago here in Provincetown, housing was a central piece of that conversation, and it's almost more so a challenge today as more people here are living year-round. And so housing, I think, for me, is the number one challenge, but also the number one opportunity. As I mentioned before, affordability for people that have called Provincetown their home for forever, but also how do we make sure that Provincetown isn't just a place where the wealthiest folks can afford to live here, or even afford to visit here. And so I think what makes Provincetown special is its history, its culture, the embrace and refuge of the queer community here, and being a diverse place. But we don't want to just be a community that is exclusive, that only has one demographic in the city. And so I think housing, diversifying the economy so we don't just rely on one sector, and also how do we stimulate a more year-round economy. And so yes, obviously summer is incredibly important to the economy of Provincetown, but how do we make Provincetown in the off-season a place where there's year-round jobs, the destination for corporate conferences and retreats to support jobs in the off-season. And all of those are connected to broadband and Wi-Fi. People that are in different, and I think we saw that this morning. But those are important things that the town needs to invest in to make Provincetown a place that people can live and visit year-round.
I was checking out your CV, and you helped to create 500 units of rental housing in Holyoke.
Yep.
Do you consider that one of your chief accomplishments while you were there?
Yeah, and I talked about this throughout the process. Holyoke, the housing challenges in Holyoke are a bit different, and the cost of living is much different as well. And I learned that firsthand when I was looking for a place to live here. But we were once a city of 60,000 people, and we went down to 40,000. White flight out of the city, suburbanization, and our goal was to bring people back to the downtown, but doing it in a way that didn't gentrify. And for us, we would always ask ourselves the question, are we excluding anyone or are we displacing anyone? And it's not necessarily up to policymakers to decide who feels excluded. And I think there's a similar conversation here in Provincetown, and we should also be guided by those questions. Are we excluding anyone or are we displacing anyone? And so I'll take the experience that I have in Holyoke navigating state and federal tax credit programs, grant opportunities, public-private partnerships for housing. And so we did about 450 units of housing, some of that market rate, some of it public housing, some of it affordable, and also affordable home ownership. And oftentimes you need a government subsidy to incentivize there being more affordable housing in places like Provincetown. Happy to see the Barracks project moving forward to provide nearly 120 units of worker housing. That project will start advancing this year. We're looking at other sites in the town to put out a request for proposal for housing. And so I know who the players are and the partners are at the state and federal level, and I want to bring those resources to bear here in Provincetown to really tackle housing head on.
I think one of the biggest issues in Provincetown is there's so many different angles and so many different we touched upon it a little. Oriana brought it up when we talked about when we were talking with her a few weeks ago. Is there's affordable housing in town, but there's a big gap between people who qualify for affordable housing and then because once you get over a certain income, you're thrown into the regular market, and there's a gap of probably like I would say about $100,000 income where you are no longer able to access affordable housing, but you're put off from being able to afford something in the larger the buying market. So that's kind of one of the biggest issues in town.
Crushing of the middle class.
Yeah.
In other words.
Perfect.
Yeah, and there has to be kind of steps, because there's affordable housing that has income restrictions, and then, there's workforce housing as well, which for me always means, the average worker median income, that they may not qualify for quote unquote affordable housing, but worker housing, the incentives and percentages of area median income are typically a little bit different or higher. And that's where, government can come in. I mean, government cannot or should not have to do everything on its own, and that's why public-private partnerships are necessary. What amount of government subsidy or tax credit or long-term financing could help bring those monthly rents down closer to affordable for those that wouldn't traditionally qualify for affordability restrictions?
And I should know the answer to this, but I don't. I know that there's a short-term rental tax that was applied to Airbnb type things to help generate a little, not to dissuade people from renting that way. Is there a tax credit if you are a landlord and you choose to rent year-round? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't believe there is.
There should be.
And that's another concern. There's been, the real estate market has exploded really over the last year, like post-COVID. And what we're also seeing to some extent is, places that were inns being bought and turned into single-family homes, right? And so that's another concern. If we want to continue to support, people living here and visiting here in the summer, there may be less and less opportunities for people to do that.
Right.
And when you think about the bars and the restaurants and the entertainment and everything that makes Provincetown, that's where I think about long term. In 10 or 15 years, we want to make sure that we still have those qualities and characteristics that make Provincetown a special place.
Do you know all of the Michigas involving the VFW site?
Yes, to some extent. I've done some research.
That was day one.
Yeah, there's like a few.
this.
No, there's like a few issues in town where I've had to do some research, and I've been listening in on select board meetings and reading old news and articles about the history of sites because I want to know what am I getting into and what have been the previous conversations and back and forth to make sure we can chart a path forward. And I know I'm coming in to a community that is very active, and I think this is a very participatory government and democracy, which I appreciate. I will be clear that I'm not going to govern by Facebook. I think it's important that we build together a collective vision. We build consensus. We're never going to agree on every topic, and I think my responsibility and the responsibility of the select board is if we make a particular decision, explaining to the public why we think that decision is in the best interests of the public with the data and facts that we collect. And I think sometimes what I've seen in Provincetown is, people get to town meeting and they don't quite understand how a decision got to that point. And so we need to be as transparent and specific as possible with the public because people want to know how did you come to that conclusion. And you're not going to get buy-in from the public if they feel this perceived lack of transparency or information to reach that conclusion.
Yeah, it's one of those things where every single problem, once it's addressed, that action causes a ripple effect to everything else. And I feel like it's important to remember that an action in one issue doesn't override another. Like a lot of people are like, we can't do housing because we need a new police station. It's like there is opportunity to do both.
Yeah, this isn't an either or proposition. Bottom line, we need a new police station in Provincetown. And so my hope is that over the next several months, we'll have a new proposal ready this fall. And so we already brought the OPM and designer firm back on. We're also going to be assessing the needs of the fire department. And so that needs to move forward. And so even where the police station is now, that could be converted into housing or a mixed-use development, depending on what the conclusions are with the fire department needs assessment. There's also other sites in town. Whether we talk about big picture with parking, if we do something with the fire department, for example, can other substations be converted into affordable housing? And so there are a lot of opportunities. And so my job right now is taking inventory of projects that are already sort of in the public realm of discussion and what aren't we discussing? Are there other big picture opportunities that we can start to move forward on?
Can we talk a little bit about the COVID situation here in town? We've got
Talk about whatever you want to talk about. Yeah.
You're right. It's our show. I can say whatever I want. We have a situation now where the town guidelines are more strict than the state guidelines, and we're about to be inundated with tens of thousands of people, a lot of whom are probably going to be coming from other parts of the state. And so I want to know how we're supposed to reconcile that. As people that work on the front line in restaurants, there are going to be people who are like, well, I don't have to wear a mask in Boston or Holyoke or whatever. Why do I have to wear a mask here? Like, what's your opinion on how much more stringent we are than the rest of the state? Like, how do we balance doing our own thing, which we obviously have a right to do as a town, with comparing that to the like a cohesive state plan?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question, and it's on the minds of a ton of people. And this is one of my first orders of business. It's convening folks. I've already met with our Board of Health director, the chair of our Board of Health. I'm meeting with the PPG leadership later today and the chamber leadership next week to start these conversations, because the business community and residents want to know what is this season going to look like. And as you start to promote activities and events this summer, what can we expect? In addition to bigger events. And so I expect in the near future we'll make some decisions about the fireworks and parades and things like the Pan Mass Challenge. But I'm more concerned about everyday life for business community, tourists, and residents this coming season. But I think it's important to clarify, the only two areas right now that Provincetown has stricter guidelines in the state is indoor entertainment and cruise ships. And when people even talk about those big events, even per Governor Baker's order, right now fireworks aren't allowed, parades aren't allowed, and so in the coming weeks, we do have a joint meeting between the Select Board and the Board of Health on Thursday, April 29th, and I encourage people to attend that meeting and share your thoughts. My hope is that we'll have more specific reopening plan at that meeting if we meet, certain thresholds with vaccinations, also certain thresholds with cases, that we can say, on June 15th or on July 1st, things will be a little bit more open than they are. To be honest, I do think it would be difficult for Provincetown to be, the only community out of 351 cities and towns to have stricter guidelines around indoor entertainment. I do think a mask order, should likely stay through the end of the year, particularly on Commercial Street. I don't think that's controversial, and I think we should, be grateful to the business community, to tourists, to workers in town who did a really good job last summer. And kudos to the Board of Health and other folks in town that worked with places like Shipwreck and other bars that wouldn't have been open at all if not for some flexibility to be able to serve some type of food, to have some income stream coming in. And so over the next few weeks, we're going to continue having these conversations, and I do think we're going to be in a much better place a month from now, certainly in a much better place in late summer. But the sooner we can provide clarity to folks, the better. I don't have all the answers this morning, but we're going to get there soon.
I think indoor performance is definitely something that is an important issue here in Provincetown, because I would guess Provincetown probably has more performers that rely on that for income per capita than any other place in Massachusetts. But it's a kind of a double-edged sword, because on the one hand you want to be able to support that large part of our community, but also because of that we're a town that has more performances and more performance venues. So it's a thin line to walk of supporting those people and also keeping people safe. Yeah, and this isn't a button that we're just going to press and everything's going to go back to normal. It's more like a thermostat that's going to be dialed up, and I am confident we're going to be dialing up to some extent. Great.
I did reach out to one of your predecessors, David Panagore, just to be like, hey, what advice would you give to Alex Morse stepping into your old shoes? And David said, make sure that you have friends outside of the government. He was like, everybody's only going to want to talk about town to you. You should make friends with people that don't care about town government.
We'll be your friends.
The next time we see each other, I won't be asking you all these
don't
questions.
ask me anything about the town.
Perfect.
Let's talk about Oliver and other things.
What kind of dog is he?
So he's a golden doodle. He's the best thing that's happened to me over the last several months. I should have gotten a dog years ago. I had a dog as a kid, but then you forget how much you can love a dog, right? He's actually at training this morning, so he's not with me. I made a decision that he's only 8 months, right? And I've been coming to Provincetown for a long time, and I just feel like every dog is so well trained, and I can't be the town manager walking down Commercial Street. My dog is look at the town manager. His dog he can't even control his dog. So
That seems so
I mean, he's
Ptown
super
to me,
lovable.
though.
He's like the sweetest dog. He wants to kiss everybody. But he's going to be all of that, and I'll be able to walk him down commercial without getting dragged around. So excited about that. And to Dave Panagore, I mean, he's a great guy, and I think really highly of him. And him and I have had the opportunity to work together to some extent over the years. I think we met a decade ago, and really appreciate his insight and his perspective, and in his 4 years in town as well. Because in a number of transitions, I think he did provide stability for a few years here in town, and want to help continue some of the projects and initiatives he initiated here. But to friends too. I mean, I have a few friends coming in today from Western Mass, from Holyoke. Well, my best friend's birthday is tomorrow, so we're getting dinner together. And I've always been incredibly grateful. I have a core group of friends that, and I've had ups and downs over the years being mayor. And when I first became mayor, it was sort of all I did. Like I was Alex, but I was also the mayor. And I think it's really important to have a personal identity outside of your professional career. And sometimes it's very challenging. And I think it will be in a small town like Provincetown, but it's my family and my friends and also the new friends that I'm sure to meet here in Provincetown that will make sure that I am not just the position that I have signed up for. So.
Great. Have you had any opportunity? I know you've been busy with your first week of work and also moving into your new place, but have you had any opportunity to kind of enjoy the little bits of Provincetown that are around?
Have you done the bike trail yet?
No, I haven't done the bike trail. I mean, I moved in last Friday. I was here the last few weekends, looking at places and doing stuff. But no, I've been at town hall till like the evening, and so this week.
Good answer.
Yeah. No, honestly, I'm like, I mean, but it's nice to know like you're busy, but you're still by the ocean and you're still in Provincetown, and there is something special just being here in general, which I really appreciate, and I have plenty of time to enjoy everything that Provincetown has to offer, and looking forward to having a little bit of downtime this weekend with friends that are coming to celebrate in town, and everybody in my life is incredibly excited and happy for me, and look forward to, Provincetown is a place too where people that from all over the state and all over the country really come to, and so it'll be a really great opportunity to reconnect with people that I haven't seen in quite some time.
Well, count us among the people that are very excited for you here.
Great. I appreciate it.
Yeah, on
Thanks so
behalf of
much.
the Wake Up community, we want to welcome you to town and the Provincetown community in general.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank you for having me.
being
I've been
here.
looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Us too, thank you.
My mic fell off. Can
Oh.
you talk for a minute?
His mic fell off. You guys, we want to thank our sponsors, the Adam Howard Studio and Metal Workshop on 3 Bradford Street, as well as Be Well Cannabis Dispensary, where you can get all of your needs met.
Yeah. Thanks for waking up in Provincetown.
Wherever you are.
We'll see you next week or maybe this Monday for trivia at Bruce Clues.
Yeah, thanks guys.